Here we are for this very special encounter at the Bon Open between Jeffrey Blancano against Damir the Demon Jumur. He's very much demonized thus far, showing a bit of frustration after losing the first set. Anyway, the Frenchman to serve, 15-30. Bit of pressure on that Frenchman's shoulders, like a couple of baguettes weighing over him. Needs to take some time. No hurry, he says, at 15-30. He's up a set, 2-all here. What are you gonna do? You're gonna go there down the middle, and that is a shank. One that even Stefanos Tsitsipas would be proud of. Get that towel, mop your brow. Return to the baseline where you'll know it's 30-all. Screeches from the other courts. But they don't put this young Frenchman off. Look at him. Prowling, brushing, questioning. Maybe they do put him off. He needs to be focused. It's 30-all, 2-all, tens times here at the Bon Open. Goes out wide with that, comes into the net, does the volley. Does he put it away? No, he doesn't. But he puts that one away, and his opponent, the demon, Damir Jumur, just cannot believe what has happened to him. I'll tell you what's happened. You've been flummoxed, and you've lost the point. We would take another look at it if we had a replay, but we don't. But who knows? You don't even need a replay, it's in our heads. Okay, the Frenchman to serve. I say you're going out wide. You don't, you go down the tee. Clip the net though, so he's going to get another shot at it. Is he going to take my advice and go out wide on this one? Did so successfully on that last time for a serve and volley, even though he'd messed up the volley. Goes down the tee again, does come into the net, does a little drop shot, and you know what? Jumur is like, I can't even be bothered to run that down. And he's going to clean that line. Look at this, he's cleaning the line because he's so annoyed with some funny bounces.
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca Jorge, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one, well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Fellas, how we doing? And are we ready to have some fun on this stream?
Go on, Mario.
Hello. I actually won't be here forever, I have to say. And but yeah, I'm already having lots of fun with Monte Carlo, and you know, I kind of always have fun with tennis, so it doesn't really matter where we are. But yeah, I'm happy.
Good. Okay. That's great energy that you're coming in with. I love it. And none of us will be here forever, right? You will be missed. Hopefully we'll all be missed in a way as we get ready for the Holger Rune, Nuno Borges match. This is going to be one I'm sure that Jose Morgado will be watching closely. John, what do we think is going to happen today?
Well, two things. We're not all going to be here forever. I think that's maybe the deepest start we've ever had on Talking Tennis. But that's okay. Deep is good. Normally, I'm here to bring the shallow elements. That's fine. The second thing is, it was quite funny how you said, "Are we all ready?" Well, I think you can tell that I'm not particularly ready, given the way I'm sort of walking around the house. I even have this. If this looks like a child's hairband, that's because it is a child's hairband.
Wow, my sister has some of those things.
Yeah. Anyway, so how ready am I? Well, I hope Holger Rune and Nuno Borges are more ready than I am. But what am I thinking regarding today? Well, I think it's a tricky first round for Holger Rune.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mario?
Yeah, especially because Rune has this sort of, let's say, thing of not always being, really right from the start of a tournament. At times he has these opening rounds where he's struggling to find his tennis. So, especially on this surface, I feel like Borges can play this steady enough tennis in order to threaten Holger if he doesn't, of course, play his best tennis right from the start. Of course, him in Monte Carlo is usually kind of a certainty. He's played well recently the last few years. Even in 22, 3 years ago, he had a great match against Rune when Rune still had no experience on the tour. And then, of course, final in 23, last year, 3-set battle against Sinner in the quarters. So I'm backing Holger for the win, actually. But still, he has to be ready right from the start, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same as you. I feel very confident about Rune both in Monte Carlo and maybe even right now. I think the hit and miss kind of run that he had in Indian Wells being a hit, if you like, and the miss being Miami, I'm actually almost quite optimistic about that. Just at least as long as I know the hits are still there. If you go 6 months without a hit, if you know what I mean with this expression.
Exactly.
Then I'm concerned. But if you have one hit, one miss, you can have a whole career. You can build a Grand Slam winning career by having one good tournament every now and again. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about his chances in this tournament and also today. But Borges is, it's a bit of a cliche, Zach, but he is Mr. Consistent. And if you're off, he'll punish you.
I will say, Rune early on is showing the immense talent and weapons that he has with a couple big winners here. I think that he's just going to be able to apply pressure consistently on Borges' serve. And so if Rune is getting easy holds, not every game, but periodically, I just don't see a world in which Borges can get it done. That being said, look, it's clay. You can grind it out. You can win with your consistency and your feet and your mental game. And I think that Borges certainly is a scrappy player. And so he might be able to shock us. I wouldn't bet on it. I think Rune's going to win in straight sets here. I will also say, as the kit doctor, Rune has the single worst kit that I have ever seen on a tennis court on clay. It is offensive to have those mismatching brown colors. Some might say they look like on this surface, it's horrific. Anyone at Nike who was responsible for that decision should lose their jobs and find a new line of work. It is disgusting. It is the low point in a low season of tennis fashion. And you know what? I'm upset about it. And I think that everybody else should be. We should demand more from our corporate overlords than whatever they put Holger Rune in.
While we are sort of slightly off base or off topic, well, it's still very much on topic. I want to share some information with you. You can see this on the screen. This is a little clip of Brenna and Damien sharing their wisdom. And if we look down here, hello, Jaime Faria has liked this post.
Hello.
Yeah, listen, Jaime likes about 50% of our posts. So, but this is the big news. Are you ready for this? Here we go. If we go down, oh, hello. Who's that? Holger Rune. And Holger Rune.
His mother.
They both like it.
Well, I just say to Holger's mom, you got to start dressing your son because Nike cannot do it. Get him a new kit. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Go on, Maui. You were going to say something.
No, I would say about Holger. Holger is really present on social media, yeah, and his mother as well. So it happened to me as well. Whenever I post something random where I tag him, he's always there to like, and his mom as well.
I think she runs his account. I think so.
Yeah, most probably.
She's liking it twice, if you know what I mean.
Honestly, it's not a bad idea for a pro athlete because what's a great way to stay out of trouble? Have your mom run your social media account. You're not sliding into DMs if your mom's got your login.
He does get in trouble, Zach, because I think his mom is probably more outspoken than even he is.
He might get in trouble, but there's a specific type of trouble that he'll be hopefully able to avoid with his mom running his account.
True. Indeed. All right. This outfit that you highlight, by the way, yeah, I mean, it is kind of Holger Rune-esque because he's worn 2 or 3 outfits, I believe, similar in the past, but they are moving away from the orange and sort of now into brown territory. But he does like the old white socks, white shoes combo.
Yeah. Which he looks like a piece of sentient clay. Derogatory, if that wasn't clear.
By the way, Mario, how long have we got you for?
Until 2 p.m. I'm here.
Oh wow, that's longer than I anticipated. So that's great. I see Lars Christensen there with Holger. I think that's his second time with Holger, Mario. Is that right?
Yeah, but it was with him even like in how can I say it? Adolescence, more or less. I don't know if 16 years old can be defined as. So yeah, he was basically his first real.
Oh, there's his mum. She's probably liking one of our posts. Sorry, Mario.
Yeah. No, I'm just turning in to the match, and well, I have to say that I like the color, but probably it should have been I don't know, whatever. We are not fashion icons, so I won't really judge.
We are here talking tennis, not talking fashion. So I do want to say, Holger Rune is serve motion.
He held? Okay.
Good.
Yeah, he's held. Yeah. Go on, Zach. You got a question about his serve motion?
Not a question, more of a statement. I just think that he has one of the cleanest serve motions on tour. It's so smooth. There's not a ton of wasted movement, and I think for anybody watching who's getting into tennis, you could do a whole lot worse than trying to emulate his motion. I think really, really highly of his form. And while no player is perfect, there's no perfect technique. I love that serve motion.
I have a more interesting question.
Sure.
Which are those service motions that are really effective? Like these guys serve really good, but you don't like the motion, like watching the motion.
Patrick Zweig is one that comes to mind. Let's see, little challengers joke in there. If y'all have seen that, let's see. That is a great question. I want to go to John because John sees more tennis than I do. Like,
I am going to go back, but it's not entirely answering the question, so forgive me for that. But the first person that came in my head and his style is actually Boris Becker. Boris Becker used to have this kind of it's not that but it doesn't quite answer the question because I didn't dislike it necessarily, but it was the best serve on tour for a couple of years and maybe more. And in fact, John McEnroe, I think, once said he thought we're never going to be able to return this guy's serve. That was when Becker was sort of 17, 18. But the reason why it springs to mind is because it was kind of a little. I'm not saying it was bad, but the rocking motion. He would have this kind of rocking motion. And then, and then sort of a very arch, but it wasn't bad. It was just distinct. I mean, McEnroe as well, probably, kind of unusual as well. Probably more unusual than Boris's, but less effective than Boris's. So, I mean,
I do not think of Nadal as having a beautiful service motion, right? I don't think that he is. I don't think anybody's saying. Yeah, but like it's a good slice, but I don't think that any junior's like, I want to serve like
for
Nadal,
example,
right?
It's Shelton. Like he's a great serve,
Okay.
But I can't really, really aesthetically, I mean, of course,
Yeah.
not technically and everything, I cannot judge even because he's one of the best servers. But like aesthetically, for me, I there's something, probably the way he switches between the first and the second part of the service motion. I don't know. For me, like the serve I would have watched like non-stop forever is, of course, Serena Williams. I think, if I have to think of a technique that I really find likable also for the eyes, for me, it's Serena Williams. I would watch her service motion in loop like forever and ever.
I think also Shelton, it's raw power, right? It is optimized for especially that first serve. It's the way that he gets his hips so far into the court, the explosivity. It's not a smooth, pretty motion. You're right. It's just it's like an explosion. And so if you like a smoother, less intense on the body motion, totally get what you're saying. For me, I enjoy that. I think, I've got the American bias there. I think it is the stylistic cousin of the Andy Roddick serve, which again is not a technique that many coaches would teach, right? It's
true.
just power.
Even though of course he has a fantastic kick, probably the best kick we have on tour right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mario was laughing, by the way, and it wasn't about you, Zach. It was
no, it was about this motion. Yeah, because it was really an outbox.
Del Bonis, yeah. He's retired now. I think it was like a year or so ago.
One I find really funny is Medvedev, because when he serves, you kind of think like he's not caring. The first serve, it's like, okay, I'm gonna do whatever, and it's very funny. And I actually think yesterday he didn't play bad, despite he was a little bit unclutched. But
I will tell you.
Go on, Zach.
Well, so I watched an Opelka match. I watched a couple this year, but I think it was about 2 weeks ago I watched one, and I find that to be the single most unpleasant tennis viewing experience, because he does have a good motion, but like you learn nothing from that as a viewer unless you are 6'10". You do not get a single thing in terms of like I can't replicate that. I'm 5'10". Like, it's just, it ain't happening. And so I think that's a motion that it's not going to be considered a conventionally unattractive motion. It just feels like a work of fiction more than real life, because to a normal human being, it might as well be fiction.
It's funny, Riley off the court for me. Sometimes I could not agree more with him on certain points. And then other times I couldn't disagree more. It's such a contradiction there. And maybe in a way, there's even some elements to his tennis and his behavior on the court. I feel similarly, that 1 minute I find myself like really enjoying him, and then the next less.
But he's a very funny guy. I can tell you he's a very funny guy. For example, I don't know if you, John, of course, knows something about football. I don't know if you, Zach, about, Caboli is a fantastic fan, a great fan of Rome, like the football team, which is called Roma. And I don't know why Aurelio Opelka kind of likes Lazio with, Lazio has the eagle. And then when Caboli posted his pic with the trophy in Bucharest, Opelka commented on Instagram with like Forza and a lot of eagles, like to mean, something like related to Lazio. Funny. Of course, just to piss Caboli off a little bit. So he's very funny. But yeah, I also agree with you, John, that at times I agree with him and at times I nothing in between.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But anyway, he is what it is, and that's that. But just one more point on this sort of, well, there's 2 points I want to raise, and then we'll bring it sort of back to Rune Borges. One is, regarding the service motion, I mean, I just put Del Bonis on the screen, but there's also an element of like, okay, it might not be the most orthodox serve, and yet there's something quite charming about it as well. I mean, if everyone served in the same way. And regarding Rune, though, which is sort of where we began with this, I mean, arguably he's maybe the most technically clean player on the tour, and I'm probably putting him in alongside Alcaraz there. Maybe just his movement is insane. His speed
is not that clean, Carlos.
No, maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. But I still enjoy the athleticism and the speed and again the footwork is still pretty special.
But Rune's just so clean. I mean, I'd also love it when Rune's really in a good mood and he's attacking that second serve and he's a meter inside the baseline, sometimes even on grass.
I mean, you look at the framework that Rune has built for himself, and there are no changes needed. You know, it's all mental. It's just that last, 1% that has nothing to do with technique. His technique is not the thing that's going to hold him back. Nobody looks better missing a backhand in the net on that love all point than Holger Rune,
Because that's what I was about to say. I was about to say, when it comes to the forehand, I prefer the techniques probably of Sinner and Alcaraz on that shot. But backhand, for me, Rune has the best one when it comes just to watching it,
Yeah.
I don't know if you, we're talking about backhands. I don't know if you saw yesterday the set point in the second set, Musetti.
Oh, I haven't
winner. That was fantastic. Even though, of course, it's totally another thing because Musetti has a one-hander. So
yeah, we've got Ghosty in the chat with Terry. John is taking a brief hiatus, and I don't think that we've had
only
a break point yet.
Ghosty.
Looks like we have not had a break point yet, and so pretty routine start. But now we got a 30 all point. Let's see if Rune can capitalize and put a little pressure on Borges here. And, to Ghosty's point on impact, I am curious, Mario, who do you think has the strongest backhand on the tour right now, or the most effective backhand on the tour?
Right now, I'm going to say Sinner.
Yeah. Well, is he on the tour right now?
No. No, I'm probably gonna say.
Let's take Sinner out of it, because when he gets back, it'll be him.
I've always said that even though there are some things I disagree with in the way Zverev plays the game, I think his backhand, we cannot say anything to his backhand.
I agree, totally agree.
It's very good and clean. And aside of him, well, when it comes to
Sorry to cut you off really quickly. Just as we're talking about that. Speaking of backhand, great backhand to set up that break point by Rune. Yeah, ultimately, net hits the ball in the net there. So now we got to do. Sorry, Mario. Keep going.
About Sinner, I really like the way he can change direction very quickly to his backhand. I gotta say that there are backhands who are really improving, even though they were not known for being the best shots. Like, for example, Fritz's backhand has improved a lot. And I gotta say about some lower ranked players, lower meaning not top 10 players, that at Indian Wells in Miami, I found Sterundolo having great solidity on the backhand, and the way he could strike some of those, and he's known for the forehand. So I think we have a lot of great backhands on the tour. Actually, it's a shot that, especially considering how hard courts are, becoming kind of the prominent surface. I think like backhands have improved a lot.
We get to build a Frankenstein as Borges gets the hold. Great question, Ghost. All right.
Yeah, but perfect. Has he hurt himself?
It looks like he dropped the racket on a change of direction. I don't know that he hurt himself, but certainly he lost his footing. Hopefully no injury. Time will tell. I'm not seeing a trainer coming out or anything.
Okay. That's
but
good,
he definitely lost his footing. Definitely lost his footing there. So if we're gonna
Frankenstein, it means the ugliest shots. No, the most beautiful shots.
So it's like take the best forehand, the best backhand. We're slamming them all into one person.
I thought the opposite.
So let's start with the health and fitness level of somebody. I think we have to go, if we're talking longevity, I think we need to go Djokovic, right?
I'm not taking guys over 35. I'm tired.
Okay, I like this. Okay, so we'll cut out the big four.
Fitness,
we'll
like
do all
cardio.
Active. Okay, yeah.
Cardio, fitness. I'm going with Deminor.
For creativity, I'm going with Alcaraz. For backhand, I'm going with Zverev. For serve, there's so many good servers, and there's so many different types of serves. But also, think about what you could do with Shelton's serve if you had Alcaraz's creativity on that next shot. Gosh, that's tough. Whose serve do you want? Yeah.
Do you know that I probably serve is a shot where I would have picked Djokovic if I didn't say that thing before. At least for the Djokovic serve right now, the way he can find the spots. Gotta say that over the past year, how many times the serve has taken Yannick Sinner out of trouble.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit underrated on tour, but yeah, probably going with Shelton right now. I feel like he is a great serve, meaning that he can do the kick, he can hit great slice. Also technically, I feel like it's very good, even though yesterday he couldn't hold for his life against Fokina. But yeah,
he doesn't seem to know how to translate it to clay yet. And I just played a tournament on clay this weekend. And my flat serve on hard courts is normally an effective, consistent part of my game. The flat just doesn't translate to clay. And so the value of being able to hit it just a little faster than anybody on clay is basically gone, especially if somebody can put their butt on the fence and get a racket on it. So I think that we will see him leaning more and more into that kick and doing fewer and fewer of those flat serves on clay as he continues to develop and sort of accept some of the realities of the surface.
So what's your forehand?
I have a heavy topspin forehand. Oh, so sorry. What is the forehand I'm going to pick? Let's see. I think for me, I'm going to say something crazy because this is not just about the Frankenstein for a day. This is a Frankenstein for a career. So I want João Fonseca's forehand. I want Fonseca's forehand.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Imagine that forehand with Shelton's serve, with
Wow,
David Mauer's fitness.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
Which means that since nature is perfect and everything is so, if you it's kind of fair. So if you have one serve, you won't have one forehand. So I don't imagine a player with all of that.
Hey, we got a break point coming up here for Nuno. Let's see if he can get this done. I agree that Tommy Paul's another one who just has a really clean, efficient,
which mentality among the youngsters, especially.
Clearly Lerner Tien. I don't think there's any question.
Mentality.
I think we can just say Lerner Tien and then say case closed there.
Yeah, okay. It's good.
I love it. I'm such a Lerner Tien homer because look, he does not have the physical gifts.
I was a little bit surprised because youngsters, I just meant under 25 players.
In the net. And we have our first break, Mario.
Okay.
Nuno Borges getting it done.
No, it's just because I am 3 shots behind, but it's fine, definitely. It's not a tense moment, so you can tell me everything.
Let me I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna pause on my feed until you get caught up.
No. Don't do it.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Well, so back to Lerner Tien, who I just simply am not gonna get on a stream without bringing up at least 3 or 4 times. He does not have the physical gifts. He just doesn't have the physical gifts.
I have, I don't know, a lot of players that I have to kind of mention every time.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, he's not ever going to be the guy with the 150-mile-an-hour serve. He's not going to have the biggest forehand. He's not going to be the fastest. He's not going to be the strongest.
Now I tell you a question.
His mind is his weakness. This
is something that I really, wrap my head about. If you take, for example, let's imagine Draper's forehand, but Draper is a lefty. You cannot take a backhand from someone who plays with right hand, because if not, you've taken 2 shots on the left side. So you have to take a forehand of another player.
Oh,
or not.
Well, so look, there are ambidextrous players.
You have to take a shot from the right side and a shot from the left side.
It's actually a good question. Can you take a lefty forehand and a righty forehand? And I mean, it is a Frankenstein here. So in theory, you could have 2 forehands, one lefty forehand, one righty forehand. It would probably not be in the spirit of creating a Frankenstein, is my guess. But yeah, we could have Nadal's forehand and Federer's forehand if we felt like it in this
player
hypothetical.
of the century. It
Yeah,
would be.
sure. Why not? I guess that is a good question. Okay, so let's start. You got a lefty forehand from Nadal. Whose righty forehand would you then want to complement that if you're going to have this Frankenstein with one hand, with two forehands, as we're at 30 all here? Borges serving, Rune trying to get this break back because you know what they say, it's not a break until you hold.
If we're talking about even retired player, I would say that I think Federer has had one of the best forehands in history. So
sorry,
but yeah, Sinner for me is in that category, meaning that even though Carlos, has probably this ability of changing pace with his forehand, I think Sinner's forehand is right now a little bit above of that.
We've got a break
when
point
it comes
here.
to precision and the ability to fight angles. So I'd probably go with Sinner's forehand.
We've got a break point here and a second serve. Rune looking to pounce and get this break back quickly. Immediately, in fact. And there's an extended rally. Borges with the fantastic approach shot there. And then ultimately with a very tough overhead put away. So we are at back to deuce.
Borges, he's one of those players that, usually when the draw is out, you don't go there to say, oh my God, so unlucky I got Borges. But, he's that solid player who is able, to make you suffer if you're not ready right from the start of a tournament. Like if you're not finding your shots right from the start, and then it's difficult to have an easy match. At least then you'll maybe win. I don't know, but
you use the exact right word, which is suffering. Right? He is willing to suffer to win. He is willing to grind to win. He is not going to ever give anybody an easy match. He is going to play as hard as he can the entire time, and he's just a quintessential professional. And so I really think highly of Nuno Borges. I agree. I don't think that he's got that top end power and skill to be a consistent top 20, top 10 player, but he can be in that 30 to 100 range for a
there
decade.
are players who are like, oh, I faced them in the first round. It's incredibly dangerous. But these players can at the same time themselves miss a lot and everything. While Borges, I think you're kind of sure that he will bring at least that sort of level.
Yeah.
So I'm back and I've got I've got maybe a really cool question or really cool topic, I think. Even better and more interesting than this sort of Frankenstein of most wonderful shots, etc. What about the worst? So if we had maybe Baez's serve, Berrettini's backhand.
There are
Tsitsipas's brain.
Serves for me.
Who served? This is not about aesthetics now. I just want effectiveness, okay? So we're just talking. It's a bit easy because I've got an even better question to come at the end. So let's just say Berrettini's back. This is just off the. I mean, you could have Tsitsipas's backhand. Actually, question.
Yeah.
Give me a quick answer.
Tsitsipas's brain.
You think so? You think Tsitsipas is weak mentally?
Yeah. Yes. No, I would take his backhand because at least Berrettini has great slice. So
true. Good answer. I like it.
Yeah.
So let's go Tsitsipas's backhand. Baez is unless you've got any other contenders for the serve, Baez.
No, because he serves way better than Schwartzman in my opinion, but Schwartzman has retired, so
yeah. Okay. What about forehand? Who's really dodgy? I know Zverev is a bit off on the forehand, but it's because we're comparing it to the rest of his game.
Indeed.
I mean, Draper has struggled with it, but it seems like he's really figured it out.
Yeah, I think he's okay now, really, on that side.
I wouldn't go with him.
What about volleys? I mean, Medvedev? The higher rank, the better, because we could all choose a 250 in the world person.
Volley, I'd go with Zverev at this point.
Okay, let's go Zverev on the volleys. But then Zverev mentally as well.
Zverev before the
there are a lot of other players I can have.
Yeah. I mean,
well,
okay, tell you what, let's be kind to the tour and let's leave the mental side out of it and just keep the game.
Like Zverev is, this thing because you think about him potentially winning big. But, you can choose other players for mentality overall, I would say.
So we've got some ideas anyway. We've got Zverev on the volley. We've got we still haven't got a forehand yet, have we?
Oh God.
There's not that many
On the women's side, I know who we all know who
weak-
we'd go for, but let's
So
stick to the men.
many.
Yeah.
So many. But I also
give me someone who's the sort of the highest ranked Mario forehand weakness.
well,
I mean, it's not like Medvedev is cranking a lot of winners. I mean, it's not that it's weak. It's just
it's a reasonable one.
Yeah.
Medvedev is a reasonable one.
I just take the ranking.
I know. I'm going to have a look at the rankings too. But then I have an even better question. Musetti, okay, yeah. Just having a look now.
Yeah.
Or Kachanov.
Yeah. There's no outstanding candidates on the forehand, are there, in terms of it being a weakness?
No, because in the men's game, I think it's a bit more important.
Now I have
just can't get there without at least a serviceable forehand.
In a way, I just want to get to the big question, especially as we get to the crescendo of this set. The big question is, if you put this player together, where in the world are they ranked? Because I think they could be outside the top 1,000.
No way. No. I think like 100 to 250 range. No,
well, listen,
top 1,000.
If you go for a player, Berrettini's backhand, okay. If that could be your strength in with this player that we're building, okay.
Okay.
Or Baez's serve is your strength, right? Well, you've got to choose one of these characteristics. You know, maybe Zverev's volleys are your strength. So, my goodness me, I think you're really struggling. You're outside the top 300.
Let me ask a follow-up question. So you were at a challenger tournament today, correct, John?
No, but I will be later on this week.
Well, I've been.
Hold on 1 second. How many backhands are
Just
better than Berrettini's there?
Stop. We've got a set point here for Borges. Rune
Quite
is
a few, I have to say.
Yeah.
Really struggling on tour, really struggling on serve at the moment. 30-40. I'm just going to talk about this point. I know Mario is a couple of points behind, which is wow, that's a really poor forehand from Holger. I did not see that.
Yeah, I've already watched it. Don't worry.
Oh, you have seen it. Okay, so you've sped up, Mario.
He's gonna get more Atoglu back in his box.
Behind the duck. Not
but
points.
you're with. Are you ahead of me, but Mario, or behind, or at the same?
No. It's more or less the same.
Oh, okay. Wow. Just before we come back to some other points about the challenges, I just want to talk quickly about that final game, because I thought Holger's going to serve and hold out here and then make Nuno serve it out. And Nuno has not looked super comfortable on his serve in the previous game, in particular when Holger had a break point. But that forehand was weird, just in terms of how comfortable the position was. Yes, I don't think he made a mistake in terms of what he was trying to do. Good idea, go close to the line, push Nuno out wide, and then get it back to Juice. But I don't think he hit it very cleanly. I've not seen it again. But yeah, that's a point that he may well live to regret come the end of the match, because
that's a very poor start, actually.
Really poor, yeah. Really
Do you think that Rune ever just kind of checks out of a set mentally? Because it felt like
for sure.
he did a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
But it's bad because it's just one break, and you may have the opportunity to break the opponent back. How many times we've seen?
Yeah.
But even Alcaraz, Sinner, if we talk about them, how many times we've seen them, I don't know, breaking while the opponents was serving for the set, for the match. Or so, that's probably the biggest difference right now, even though, of course, Rune can still improve something technically and tactically. But, yeah, probably that fall did something. I mean, we're talking, so I haven't really watched every single point of this first set. But, when he had that fall, I think he hasn't won a game since that moment.
Yeah, and he's got the trainer out there now, and so maybe he's struggling more physically than we're realizing. I think. Yeah, look, anytime you get crossed up, changing direction, it could be a hamstring, could be a quad, could be one of those other things in your leg that you don't want to pull. He's a young guy, and he's an elite high-level athlete, so presumably he is better equipped to withstand that. People get hurt, and so clearly something is bothering him. I think, though, watching this match, it's clear that he needs to bring more Atoglu back to his box. Do you guys agree?
Not sure if that's the answer.
No,
It hasn't been the last 6 times, but this time I think it might be.
no, I disagree. I think like
I think Zach was being a bit cheeky. I think I could be wrong.
Yeah, probably.
Just a touch. Well, so, okay, so look, that was not an ideal start, to put it lightly. What does Rune need to do to get back in this match, assuming that he's healthy? If he's unhealthy, then hey, nothing you can do sometimes. But if he is able to move forward, what are you telling him as his coach?
I mean, he's such an instinctive player, and I don't want to sound like I'm sounding a bit like Moratoglu here, by the way, in terms of fudging my answer. But he's such an instinctive player that there's. I would have to probably have a look at the return stats, and maybe he could do something a bit more on the return, because I think that's the biggest area with Holger's game that I think is the most interesting one. I think it's one where I've seen him turn matches around just by making a tweak to his return position, for example. So that's what I'd be most interested in, having a quick look at the data.
I would probably tell you to find more shape on his shots. Because I feel like this is kind of the moment, at least in the next 2-3 games, this is kind of the moment where he has to regain probably those confidence in his shots. So I would probably tell him to play a little bit with more shape, trying to make more, even without risking too much, but just to try to find back this confidence in his movements, his motions, and everything about his game, and then suddenly trying to a little bit take step forwards. This is probably the way I'd go.
I think that makes sense. I think I totally agree with Mario, and I would just add,
because he's a guy who, when he loses confidence, he tends to maybe even force a little bit too much. So
I mean, one thing I would say is that his return is very hit and miss. I mean, I'm even just looking at some stats from Indian Wells, where, because obviously this is a month ago and on a different surface, but just from Tennis Insights, looking at his return stats, and he's either really on the return or really off it. I mean, it looks really right now that the biggest issue seems to be physical, but if he's okay physically come the second set, then I still think Rune's arguably the favorite in this match.
Let's also give credit to Borges. I mean, that 15-all point was spectacular. Absolutely. Great defense. Went from defense to the neutral position. Made Rune hit a very, very tough volley from a tough spot. Nunes is playing great. He's doing the exact thing that we said that he could and would do. I'd say he's playing even a little bit better than that. I mean, like he just got an easy, a nice ace there at 30-15. Borges is really, really bringing it to Rune. So Absolutely. Not only is he struggling, his opponent is, I would say, bringing his absolute A+ game so far.
One thing is that, why also I told this about his shots, because, for example, against Medvedev in that semifinal in Indian Wells, he won because he was very patient, and probably against Medvedev, you don't have to rush too much, because then you kind of play his game a little bit. I don't know if you can make him hit on the run, passing you, and I think that although he is great in shorten the rallies, come to the net and everything, I think it has to, it's a quality that has to be a little bit more studied, related to the opponents, meaning that considering he's also able to be patient and to play with shape and to try to build the rally a bit more, there are maybe matches and moments where this can help him, even it worked against Medvedev, and I think Medvedev is not the only player against whom this kind of way can work, especially if the court is slow like this one or in Indian Wells.
Ghost points out that it's deathly silent in Monte Carlo right now, and I think that is always interesting, because maybe the fans will get back into it. Maybe they will help give Rune a little bit of energy. It's not exactly a packed house. It's an early round match. And so, I don't know that their crowd is going to give him life. But if he gets a little momentum here, getting the fans behind him, it really can make a difference and help swing that momentum, because I don't think that they're going to get frothed up for Nuno Borges the same way as they might for a Rune comeback here.
Just missed another forehand there that you'd expect him to make from a neutral position. Do we know what the physical ailment he had when he was getting the attention from the physio?
I haven't really understood even because he didn't take any treatment.
No,
From what
it was a conversation, wasn't it?
Ooh,
But that
bad
movement,
backhand miss.
yeah, that movement there didn't look great either. But just looking lethargic, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna guess groin based on
Yeah,
the way he's
muscular.
moving. You know,
Yeah.
something groin, and also like just looking at that point that the Mari pointed out where he kind of went down. That's looked like a groin area injury. Upper leg, perhaps.
A really dangerous moment.
Stomach. Terry's saying stomach.
Okay, yeah, could be.
Yeah, because the thing is that, I don't know if you agree with Goss's comment, meaning that, at times you're just not in a good day. So shortened rallies, even though you're usually good at it, just can mean, like giving a lot of free points.
And maybe that's why he's missing these forehands. Maybe.
We got a second break point coming up here for Borges to seize an early lead. Let's see what happens. Exchange here. Ooh, close to the line. Did he miss that?
He missed it, yeah.
He missed it.
I think we are
definitely
seeing. I'm joining the dots now with what's going on. I think we are seeing a physical issue. I don't know whether it's a stomach muscle or if it's just a stomach illness. But he's going.
Yeah, but the thing is that he checks out also mentally when he has these issues. There are players who are a little bit more able to, I don't know, find that positive energy to,
Rafa is one that springs to mind. Rafa
for
Chapo,
example,
Rafa Chapo 2022 Australian Open.
For example, yeah, absolutely. So he has also this thing of checking out mentally at times when he has those issues, and
Nuno isn't checking out.
Yeah, he doesn't even move, so probably it has to be something a bit serious. I don't know.
Nuno, that forehand, by the way, was like he was playing Rafa at that point. The way he was determined to put that one in, which is good because you can get distracted, of course, by an opponent's illnesses or whatever. So it's good that he needs to stay focused here because you never know with. Oh, that's a nice.
Very saucy.
He's probably reading Nietzsche.
that made me laugh as well.
But yeah, you just don't know, and I know it's very easy for when a player sort of seems to be injured or ill, and then an hour later they're playing well again. It's a really casual response is to go, oh, they were faking it. Injuries can come and go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I've run long distance races, and halfway through the race, I'm in agony in my right knee, and 10 kilometers later, I'm thinking, oh, that knee issue's gone.
Absolutely.
Well, especially with the stomach thing, like sometimes you just got to boot and rally. He could puke in the corner in 3 minutes and then be fine from that point forward. And there's also the dynamic of when you're feeling not 100%, you don't feel the pressure the same way, right? A wounded animal is the most dangerous. An injured athlete is very, very similar. If Rune starts going for the lines, which he is, he might start hitting.
Hello. We've got a retirement.
He retires.
I guess he might not start hitting then. Okay.
Well, maybe he knew about Mario's 2:00 cutoff. And he's like,
yeah, that's true.
Poor guy. I think that Rune, he struggled with all kinds of stuff over the last couple of years, but you never want to see a player have to retire. That's a shame. No. He's still such a bright young talent.
Can somebody remind me where in the draw we are?
I will get the draw up now.
The round of 64?
This is round of 32, so now it's going to be round of 16 for Nuno. But let me just get what do we do? Monte Carlo draw. Is the winner of this playing? So is Borges playing? I'm just guessing here. Is he playing Dimitrov, having had those two matches at the same time? Sometimes that happens that often happens, doesn't it? When you've got the two matches at the same time. Anyway, let me have a look. I've got the draw up now. I'm looking at it. No, Dimitrov is playing Vashorov. And so where are you, Nuno? Come on, Nuno. I don't see you.
Major UTR ramifications, by the way, for Rune pulling out.
Root section?
Could be.
No.
Oh, sorry. Actually, you're right. This is round of 64. Is it round of 60? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, first round.
Sorry, I've written.
I don't
I thought it was round of
why
32.
I don't find
So
him.
he's
Okay.
playing Pedro Martinez.
Martinez, and we are in Tsitsipas section. Okay.
So, question. I mean, is Rune going to drop out of the top 10 after this tournament? I believe he might. Yeah.
Well,
he'll have. Yeah.
Rune is not inside the top 10 right now.
Is he just
12.
outside? Is he?
He's 12, and in the live ranking, he still is 12. It will depend on Fields, Musetti. I mean, he won't have big consequences on his ranking.
So if Baez has a strong showing here, and I'm willing to bet that he will surpass Rune in the rankings.
Wow.
In fact,
really?
If I'm
so Baez
in the race.
Oh, that's the race.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, race. I was going to say world rankings.
Cerundolo will do it as well after beating Alcaraz. So.
Well, yeah.
I'm on the hype train.
Yeah. I listen. A year ago, or a little bit less than a year ago, I remember Damien and I were chatting in Porto on stream, and Damien said he'll be top 10 and he'll win a Masters 1000 someday. And that doesn't seem that crazy. Now, that seems to be like a normal prediction. I'm not saying it's going to be this week, but the idea that he will at least spend 1 week in the top 10 in his career makes sense to me. And the idea...
I simply don't accept that he's not the first Argentinian in the race. I don't accept it.
Wait, who is the first then? Is it Baez?
13 Baez and 14 Cerundolo.
Okay.
It's a big year for Argentinian
Baez
tennis.
has that South American, or in Rio at least. So, yeah, Gene's saying sad for Rune. Yeah, it is sad for him, but fingers crossed it's a minor issue, and he'll be back.
Clay season is still long, so
yeah,
we'll see.
And it's better to have that issue now than week 1 of Roland Garros. So
it's just such a shame because it did seem like Rune was right there with Alcaraz and Sinner at one point in terms of his upside, and he's just so far behind them now. It might be insurmountable. I think in all likelihood, it's going to be somebody new who becomes that third member of the new big three. Personally, I think it's Lerner Tien.
I am against the new big three thing. I will.
What would you like to see instead of a new big three? Would you like to see a big four?
Nothing.
Big five,
I don't know. The
big
new
eight?
top players.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe there are 4, 3, 2, 5.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So that's Borges' biggest win in terms of ranking, apparently.
That's a big moment for Borges. Major rankings and points implications, major money implications. It's a shame that the biggest win comes as a retirement, but it's still, hey, that's tennis.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't see that for Cerundolo, meaning that he reached quarterfinals at both Indian Wells and Miami. So I would say that he's actually gained spots in the race lately. After South America, he wasn't that high.
There's a lot of Estoril Open stuff on my timeline, but anyway, coming back to this edition here, yeah. So
I go.
Go on. What?
I'll go and I'll chat you for.
Yeah, we'll talk later, Mario. Okay, take care.
Take care.
Always good, Mario.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers. All right, we'll stay live for a couple more minutes, Zach. Just sort of as we round off this chat about Rune and Borges and stuff. I listen. I still think that he's going to win tournaments and maybe slams.
You think slams at this point?
Yeah, I mean, how old is he? 20? I mean,
I think he's like 22. He's 21 or 22 because he's the same age as Alcaraz. Yeah,
21. No, you're right. Yeah, so he's just coming up to 22. So actually, you're probably closer to being right than I was.
He turned 22 this month. It looks like.
Yeah, 22 this month exactly. No, I'd have to see a year of nothing, and yet I never go more than 6 weeks without seeing something that makes me think, that's. His run in Indian Wells, for example. I know who did he lose to in Indian Wells? I'm just trying to think now. Lost in the semis, didn't he? To who was in the final? Jack Draper against.
Was it Fritz?
Just trying to think. Oh no, he lost in the final, didn't he? To Jack Draper.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
no, the framework is there. I think that there is so much talent on the tour right now, and it's so hard to get it done in a major in a best of 5 format. And so I believe that he will continue to win tournaments. I just don't think he can get it done over the course of 7 matches in best of 5, because in the chat there is chatter about how he's an instinctive player, and there's some very funny comments that I think from Ghost saying I instinctively hit the ball into the 3rd row, and I think there is some truth in that, right? And it's he just cannot match Alcaraz level for level across 5 sets. He cannot match Sinner across 5 sets. I don't think he can match Djokovic across 5 sets. And he is his own worst enemy. He is a player who is in his own way. It is not a technique thing. It's not, today it was literally a physical thing that was holding him back. He's got all the physical talent. He's got the technique. But also, to your point, John, he's really, really young. He's only 21, almost 22 years old. Plenty of players have gotten that first major in their mid or late 20s. He certainly could be one of them. To me, it's not about that he can't do it. It's just a reflection of how much young talent is being infused in the sport. With Fonseca on the way up, with Mensik on the way up, who I think for whatever reason hasn't gotten quite as much love as some of the other young stars. With Alcaraz and Sinner being at years away from their prime still, it's just tough to see a spot for Rune, for me, where he can get through all of that.
I see that. You've made a good case. You've made a good case. But yeah, I still see the ingredients. Now, you might say that'll always be the case throughout his career, and you can give me 100 examples of people who had all the ingredients to win a Grand Slam but never did, and that's fair. But I just need to see a prolonged spell at probably a slightly later age. So, for example, for Stefanos Tsitsipas, Alexander Zverev, Taylor Fritz, for example, those people at that age, you can build cases both ways for them winning a slam and not winning one. But with every day that passes, the case for them not winning one, gets stronger. For me, it doesn't with Holger until he's sort of 24, 25, 26.
That's fair.
If we're still having this conversation in 2 or 3 years from now, fair enough. And we can come back to this conversation and go, John, you were wrong to hold out hope. And maybe I'll still be defiant and I'll be still like, I still hold. But
you'll be on Holger Rune Island, just holding it down.
Yeah, I might be on my own. Yeah, I know.
This stat is this graphic is so funny.
Yeah,
and I feel like with every clay court, with all these major clay court tournaments, there's a version of this from that period, and it just is incredible.
Go on, Zach.
We in all likelihood will not see another run like that again in our lifetime. Doesn't mean we won't, but certainly we can't count on that.
Sometimes we say certain things where we'll say we'll never see it again, but actually, if we thought, like, say, for example, the 20+ Grand Slams, I think we probably will, particularly if the tours stay as homogenous as they are in terms of the 4 slams being very different to how they were in the 80s and the 70s in terms of how different the court speeds were. But something like this, I think, it would be wild to have somebody so far ahead of the field on this particular surface. Interesting, by the way, of course, 2009 was one of the years that he didn't win Roland Garros. And I really want to have a look at the 3 Masters over the last, say, 20 years, Monte Carlo, Madrid, and Rome, to see, because Madrid, I think Madrid might have been a hard court 20 years ago, but whenever it changed, I think it was indoor hard about 20 years ago, but then it changed to clay at some point and outdoors. But anyway, from whenever that happened, just to see, who wins the French on the men's and the women's side. And I'm pretty sure that Madrid will be the lowest in terms of correlation. If you win Madrid, probably it doesn't come even close to suggesting you're going to have a great French Open. Whereas off the top of our heads, Monte Carlo and Rome tend to be. It's probably more interesting on the women's side, just because Rafa was so far ahead on clay than everyone else that we can almost sort of just ignore what was going on for the last 20 years on clay and just go, look, Rafa was just amazing in Monte Carlo, Roland Garros. And
that's actually a great question, though.
I think the women's will give us a better clue.
Yeah,
because when I look at Iga, and I see where she's strongest, it's certainly Rome. That's where she's stronger than. She's won 1 Madrid title, and she was match points away from losing that. And she won't be a Madrid, I don't think, and she may prove me wrong, but she's not going to be winning Madrid 5 or 10 times. But I do expect her to win 5 or 10 Roland Garroses and 5 or 10 Romes.
So that question of which Masters best correlates to the result at that Grand Slam is such a fun one. And so I don't know what it'd be for Australia.
You could do the same with New York. You could
Absolutely.
You could
Is
look
it
at
Cincinnati?
You could look at Cincinnati and Montreal or Toronto.
Yep.
You could throw in Indian Wells and Miami. The problem is there, of course, is the gap between the two tournaments in 6 months. But yeah,
the climate,
again,
there's a huge difference climate-wise too with those. And
well,
so
absolutely. But that's the idea of the test in a way. You're sort of testing that, and you're going, okay, we can see that the climate situations are so different. But Rafa used to do well at Indian Wells and used to do well at New York and I think New York tend to be a bit slower than Melbourne.
Yeah.
Hey,
but yeah. Are you a brainiac? Are you watching this live stream? Do you understand AI stuff that you can plug this into a computer and give us an answer? That would be cool. If you're watching at home, you can do that. Like, go make it happen.
Zach, this is actually one of the reasons I'm looking forward to doing this. It's actually quite easy.
Oh, really?
Well, this particular question, I mean, there's a million other questions out there that would just you probably do need AI to fix it, all the rest of it. But this you could just get the last 20 winners in Rome, on the women's side if you want, just the last 20 winners in Rome, the last 20 winners in Madrid and Stuttgart for however long that's been going, indoor clay.
Well, I think that you want to pull the winners from every Masters 1000 and see if there's one where it's like, hey, randomly Montreal actually translates very well to Australian Open success. We just don't know what the predictors
now that would be more complex, of course.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to do, if you really wanted to get closer to the exact answer, rather than just the winners, you'd have to, you'd really want to throw all the players so just for example, this year, let's just look at Rome and let's say Rome, Madrid, Roland Garros. You'd want to put all 128 players or however many in the main draw and see, because you could just focus on the winners, every time, and you'll get an answer, for example. But it won't be as clear cut as if you put all 120. Let's just say, I don't know, Karolina Muchova, she gets to the semis and the final, for example, in Rome and in Paris on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But she doesn't do very well in Madrid. She goes out early, and so therefore there's a correlation. But she's not winning the tournament, so it doesn't come into our algorithm, if you like. Whereas it would be much better, because you might just get an Iga who's phenomenal and she wins those two. But actually, the stats for the other 127 players suggest that there's another correlation that we're missing. But
totally. By the way,
you would need a computer for that.
Ghosty in the chat is exactly correct in his assessment. Every time Cincinnati comes up in my mind, I'm like, they could move that to Charlotte, where I just was for a tennis tournament. And I got to tell you, it's a tennis city. And you know who else agrees with me? Andy Roddick, who has a home there. His wife, Brooklyn Decker, is originally from the Charlotte area. It's a tennis city. It's a growing city. Rich history of hosting events at all levels. One of the largest tennis playing communities, not just in the state, not just in the region, not just in the country, in the world. Can Cincinnati say the same? No, I guess it can. Let's see what happens.
There was one more point I wanted to make. Oh, did you see that Cincinnati? Well, a couple. The only thing. They've got the final. I think maybe both finals are on a Monday this year. And the tournament director's not particularly happy about it. So it's an interview with Ben Rothenberg I saw on I think his Substack, or if you just Google Ben Rothenberg and check out his social media, you'll find a link to his media output. He did an interview with the tournament director, and he's kind of basically which is fair enough. He says, what on earth are you having on a Monday? And the tournament director basically says, do you really think I want it on a Monday? And so there's something. Well, apparently it's to do with like rest for the players, but I'd have to look into the data.
I wonder if there is a competing sports event or major cultural event on Sunday that they're worried would impact.
He would highlight it. He didn't highlight that. He highlighted something to do with rest for the players or something.
Does that make sense? That that doesn't quite pass the smell test. So I wonder what is going on there. Any theories?
I don't know. No idea. But that's what I think he said, something about the rest. But then I don't know why it hasn't been the case in the past, and I don't see this being a year when Canada overlaps or something like that. I don't know, but yeah. So yeah.
I mean, I of course I do like the idea of taking better care of the players. I think we've talked on the show quite a bit about that. However, it doesn't feel like there are decisions that are made for the players that don't seem to involve the players and don't seem to actually produce better outcomes for them. And yeah, I'd be very interested to see what the story is there and how this all shakes out.
Yeah, but yeah, he doesn't seem best pleased with that. But the schism, is that the right word? It's the first one that came in my head. So let me just check the definition of this word. I've got it right.
This is a journalist doing
is
fact checking in real time. We love to see it, John.
Yeah, I know. It's just because that was the most natural word that came in my head, and often it's the right one, but sometimes you get it wrong. But it is the right one. Yeah, the schism between the tournaments and the authorities is vast, and I think there's between the lines in that P2PA thing.
Yeah,
there's something there because the tournaments want to grow their tournaments, but sometimes the authorities don't seem to be on the same page, which is odd. You'd think that they would be on the same page, but yeah. Anyway, that is a debate for another day. Zach, big thanks for joining us today, although it was an abrupt ending in the end with Holger Rune obviously retiring hurt. So fingers crossed he gets well soon. Zverev Berrettini, I can see, is coming up shortly, so do enjoy that and enjoy the rest of the action in Monte Carlo. But for now, Zach, once again, big thanks. Oh, do check out the Triangle Tennis Podcast. Check out any of Zach's Instagram posts as well. We're pretty handy tennis players, Zach.
I do my best. I had a good tournament this weekend. There's some clips on Swing Vision that I might post.
Okay.
I do also just want to acknowledge that, obviously, Ghost, member of the Talking Tennis community, huge fan, as we all are. Want to just say, we're all sending thoughts, love, positive energy your way after a death in the family. Hope all's well. That's always tough. I think tennis is so great as an outlet to get through things, to work through whatever, to just burn off some of that energy. And so, we're here, we're watching tennis, we're having fun, but it's a reminder that life is short. So spend time with loved ones, peace, love, and good bread. What Ghost said.
Indeed. On that note, I think we'll bring this to an end. Thanks, Zach, and speak to you soon.
Later, guys.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.